Hamilton with a drive well hit to right. Calhoun back on it, and Josh Hamilton has gone deep.
What's going on, guys? It's Fuzzy. So growing up, there were so many star players in Major League Baseball that would come out and say, I'm done playing baseball once this season is over. So we were able to cope with their retirement and actually give them a send-off tour. But that's not the case for every other star player. For example, Derek Jeter came out and said that this is going to be my final year, and then we were able to send him off with a retirement tour. It was the same thing for Big Papi, Mariano Rivera. I mean, even Victor Martinez got a send-off tour, but there's a few players that are even better than the names that we just mentioned that just left the game. They quit and told no one. And I'm dead serious when I say this too, that I cannot remember these players coming out and saying that they retired, that they were done. They played their last season and then they drifted off the face of the earth and no one ever heard from them again. Maybe they got a coaching job. That's the case with a few players in this list, but at this point they literally played their last game, left the game of baseball, and no one really noticed. Or maybe it's just me. But before we start talking about those players, make sure you slap a like on this video, subscribe if you want to see more baseball content. Without further ado, let's get into it. When we talk about the GOAT, the greatest baseball player of all time, it's usually Willie Mays, Ken Griffey Jr., and then the top two picks are Babe Ruth and Barry Bonds. Mike Trout was coming up in that conversation, but I still can't believe that Barry Bonds played his last season at 42 years old. He was an all-star, and he actually had pretty decent stats, and then he just left. Barry Bonds had 28 home runs, 66 RBIs, 132 walks, which led the league. He had a .276 batting average and also led the league in on-base percentage with the 1.045 OPS. He wasn't full-fledged Barry Bonds at 42, but he was still better than half the league at hitting, and then he just called it quits. He left. A lot of people don't like to talk good about Barry Bonds because of the steroid use and everything like that, but in my opinion, I think that he is a Hall of Fame talent. He's probably not going to get him because of the steroids, but even before he started taking them with the Pirates, I mean, if we take a look at some of his best years with the Pirates. For example, at 25 years old in 1990, Barry Bonds had 33 home runs, 114 RBIs, 52 stolen bases, a .301 batting average, and a .970 OPS, and also he won a Gold Glove that year. So Barry Bonds, before he was even doing roids and getting juiced up, was the full package. He was Ken Griffey Jr. before Ken Griffey Jr. came around. He was Mike Trout before we all came to love Mike Trout. So Barry Bonds, I wish there was a retirement tour because I think we all would have loved him just a little bit more instead of just saying like, you know, Barry Bonds did steroids, got caught, quit, and then he became the Marlins hitting coach, and then he was fired. So yeah, Barry Bonds, number one. Coming up next, we have one of my all-time favorite players, which makes this a little bit sad, but Josh Hamilton, when he was in the league and on top of his game, there was no better hitter, whether it was a lefty or a righty. Again, there was no better hitter in baseball than Josh Hamilton, and I'll prove it right now. Josh Hamilton won his MVP with 32 home runs, 100 RBIs, a .359 batting average, and a 1.044 OPS, and he did that in 133 games. Again, Josh Hamilton had a rocket arm. He could steal you a bag or two. He had a pretty decent glove in the prime of his career. When he was with the Angels, he kind of fell off and he wasn't Josh Hamilton anymore. As we can see by his last few years in baseball, in 2015, he was actually sent from the Angels to the Rangers. He was so bad, the Angels paid the Rangers to take Josh Hamilton. I think it was like $16 to $20 million where they said, here, you can have Hamilton back. We don't want him. It's actually hard to believe, but Josh Hamilton has not played baseball in 4 years. In 2015, his final year, he played 50 games with the Rangers. He had 8 home runs, 25 RBIs, and a .253 batting average. So Josh Hamilton, just like Barry Bonds, just kind of said, you know what? I'm done. In my opinion, Josh Hamilton and Barry Bonds are the top two guys talent-wise on this list. We still have a lot more players to talk about, so don't go anywhere. But coming up next, this is my favorite player of all time. There is no debate. This guy would have been a Hall of Famer just like Josh Hamilton. If injuries did not get involved, we're talking about Grady Sizemore. A lot of people forgot about Grady Sizemore because, again, he didn't officially announce his retirement. He played his final game, and then he dipped. But in his prime, this man was one of the best players in the league, and again, my favorite player. At age 22, the guy had 22 home runs, 81 RBIs, 22 stolen bases, and a .289 batting average. The next year, he had 28 home runs and 22 stolen bases. The following year, in 2017, he had 24 home runs and 33 stolen bases. And then finally, in 2008, his final All-Star season, Grady Sizemore had 33 home runs, 38 stolen bases, a 268 batting average, so he did strike out a little bit. He didn't get on base as much, but a 30 home run, almost 40 stolen base campaign. That's elite talent. And not to mention in that final year where he had 33 home runs, 38 stolen bases, he also won a Gold Glove. So, I mean, the top three guys that we're talking about, Grady Sizemore, Barry Bonds, and Josh Hamilton, all talent-wise, some of the best players we've ever seen, and we should have given them their proper dues and say, you know, thank you for everything. But again, they left. So we're going to move on to the fourth player now. And this one, again, it just brings up so many memories because there wasn't a farewell tour. So I never got to really process the fact that they're not playing baseball anymore. But when I say the name Carl Crawford, I'm sure a lot of your eyes open up like, oh my gosh, where did he go? Carl Crawford was a 4-time All-Star. He was an All-Star Game MVP. He won a Gold Glove and a Silver Slugger. But we all know Carl Crawford because of his speed. If we take a look at some of his best seasons, in 2004, his first All-Star season at 22 years old, back when the Rays were the Devil Rays, Carl Crawford had 185 hits, 19 triples, 11 home runs, 55 RBIs, 59 stolen bases, and a 296 batting average. Carl Crawford was amazing. But in my opinion, I feel like Crawford's best season came in 2006 when he didn't even make the All-Star team, which is kind of funny. He had 183 base hits, 16 triples, 18 home runs, which was his most in his career, 77 RBIs, 58 stolen bases to only 9 caught stealing, and a 305 batting average. Carl Crawford, come back, man. You're so good. Well, I guess that's the sad part of this video because he's not good anymore, and we're all getting older because when Carl Crawford was good, I was like 10 years old. So it's kind of weird to say that he's no longer in the league. His final year in baseball was back in 2016 with the Dodgers. Yes, you guys remember, he was with the Dodgers in the later half of his career, but he only played 30 games. He had no home runs, 6 RBIs. He was not able to steal one bag, but he also got caught stealing once, and then to go along with that, he had a 185 batting average. So Carl Crawford said, you know what? I don't have it anymore. I'm not going to announce it. I'm just going to leave. Kind of sad. We've talked about a good amount of position players already, so what we're going to do is we are going to transition into pitchers, the guys that were elite on the mound, but again, just like everyone else that we've talked about, they were really good, they kind of fell off a little bit, and then they just faded away, and no one ever heard from them again. So the first guy on our list, my favorite pitcher of all time, Cliff Lee. Cliff Lee has an amazing resume. He had a 43.5 career WAR, he had 143 wins to go along with 91 losses. That is really good. A 3.52 career ERA, he won a Cy Young, and he was a 4-time All-Star. And the best part about this Cy Young award is this was the year after he was sent down because he was so bad, because the year before in 2007, he had a 6.29 ERA. So the Indians said, you have one last chance, go down and fix it. And then he shows up in 2008 and he balls with a 22-3 record and a 2.4 ERA. Insane. Then from that point on, it was a little bit weird because he was traded to the Phillies, then he signed with the Mariners, then he was traded to the Rangers, and then he re-signed with the Phillies. So it was kind of a roller coaster road in terms of his teams. Man, in 2014, his last year in baseball, that was already 5 years ago. That's so sucky to say. Cliff Lee had a 4-5 record with a 3.65 ERA, so not a bad season, but his arm just gave out on him. It was his arm, it was his shoulder. Injuries robbed Cliff Lee of an amazing rest of his career, so that's really sad to say. Then again, there wasn't a chance for us to say goodbye to Cliff Lee, so this is our formal Cliff Lee, thank you for everything. Miss you, man. This one caught me by surprise because, again, I had no idea that he was no longer playing baseball. I thought maybe he signed a minor league deal or he was just a free agent looking for a job. When I say the name Jonathan Papelbon, I'm sure you guys, just like with Carl Crawford, you're thinking, oh yeah, where did that guy go? Oh my gosh, Jonathan Papelbon was insane. He had a .92 ERA and 35 saves. What even is that? Like, that's video game stats. Jonathan Papelbon was amazing with the Red Sox. Eventually, we all know that he joined the Phillies where he had a pretty decent stretch as well. His first year with the Phillies, he had a 2.44 ERA to go along with 38 saves, followed by 29 saves, 39 saves, 24 saves. He eventually joined the Washington Nationals, where in 2016, his final year, he went 2-4 with the 4.37 ERA, 19 saves. So again, not a really bad last season in baseball, but he hung up the cleats. He called it quits. When you talk about prime, this guy has got to be one of the best pitchers of all time. Johan Santana, when he was on top of his game, they were comparing him to Sandy Koufax. Yeah, that's how good he was. But again, just like everyone else, he just dipped. Time is going by too fast. Johan Santana, his final season was in 2012, where he had a 6-9 record, a 4.85 ERA with the Mets. And wow, that's a long time ago. But from 2002 to 2009, between the Twins and the New York Mets, Johan Santana garnered 119 wins to only 57 losses. He averaged a 2.89 ERA over those 7 years. He also averaged a 15-7 record with 205 strikeouts. So again, if you needed one pitcher to get you one win, a lot of people were picking Johan Santana back in the day. And again, I'm just so upset to say that he just left the game, and then eventually everyone started wondering, where's Johan Santana? Oh yeah, he's gone. Coming up next, we have a back-to-back Cy Young winner. When this guy was in the league, he was the face of baseball, at least in my opinion. Tim Lincecum was a short guy that could throw 98 to 100 miles an hour because of his mechanics. Eventually, those mechanics wore him down. He overcame all of his shortcomings, no pun intended, because if we take a look at his stats, his first Cy Young, he had an 18-5 record with a 2.62 ERA and 265 strikeouts. The following year, his second Cy Young Award season in 2009, at 25 years old, he had a 15-7 record at 2.48 ERA and 261 strikeouts. So this guy was the best pitcher in the game for 2 straight years. You can obviously see that, but then in 2010, he had a 3.43 ERA, so that was a little bit of a bump in the road, but then he returned back to form in 2011 with a 2.74 ERA, and then everything kind of unraveled the following year in 2012, where he had a 5.18 ERA, followed by a 4.37, a 4.74, a 4.13, and then he tried to make a comeback with the Angels with a 9.16 ERA and a 2-6 record. After that, Tim Lincecum pretty much said, I don't have any more juice. There's still an offer coming from the Rangers and a few other teams as a minor league player, but I mean, we're not going to see Lincecum anymore. So his last game, 2016, that sucks. We've been through position players. We just talked about a few pitchers. Now we're going to go back to position players because the last 2 guys, they're not as big as the other players that we talked about, but they're still worth noting because they had a pretty sizable impact on the game. The first one being Michael Bourn. The way that I look at Michael Bourn is he was almost a poor man's Carl Crawford, which is still a compliment because Carl Crawford was, when he was at the top of his game, he was one of the best outfielders in the league. Because if we take a look, Michael Bourn was a 2-time All-Star. He was a 2-time Gold Glover. And oh yeah, in consecutive seasons, he had 61 stolen bases, 52 stolen bases, 61, 42, 23. So this guy could steal you a bag. He could fly in the outfield and track down any baseball he wanted. He also had a pretty decent arm out there in center field, but then he signed a fat contract with the Indians, which really upset me because this is one of the worst contracts in the history of baseball because in his first season with the Indians at 30 years old back in 2013, he played in 130 games and he had a 263 batting average with a 670 OPS. I mean, that's terrible. No announcement tour, no retirement tour, nothing like that. Michael Bourn said, time to go play me some Fortnite. Fortnite even out in 2016? I don't remember. All right, we're coming down to the final player. I hope you guys are enjoying so far. It's been a long video. Thank you all so much for watching, by the way. This has been a lot of fun for me. Johnny Damon is a borderline Hall of Famer, but that does not give him an excuse for quitting. Okay, he just left. The Indians released him in his final year in baseball, and then he just said goodbye. But he was a pretty good player in his prime. Johnny Damon was a 2-time All-Star. He won the World Series twice. He had a 56.4 career WAR, 2,700 base hits, so he was so close to 3,000, 235 home runs, a lifetime 284 batting average, and he also had 408 stolen bases. So one of the biggest things about Johnny Damon is he didn't have the best arm, so a lot of people say like, oh, he wasn't very good. I'm not sure why that is. If you don't have a good arm, a lot of people say you're not very good at baseball, but Johnny Damon, he could hit you a home run, he could steal you a bag, just like Michael Bourn, he could track down some baseballs. I mean, there were a couple seasons where he also had a good amount of hits as well. So he had 214 hits when he was with the Royals in 2000 at 26 years old. So Johnny Damon, I wish that he would have said, like, guys, this is it. My body can't handle it. I am not coming back, because he deserved a farewell tour. He had a huge impact on the game. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Fever Pitch, but even the ladies loved him. He was just the best. And guys, I have one more player that we have to talk about. I actually got his jersey in his final game. He did announce his retirement. He was the best player of all time. Like Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth, Barry Bonds, Ken Griffey Jr., Mike Trout, got nothing on this guy. So the final player that just pieced out, I have him right here. This guy. He was really good, the best. So guys, that is going to do it for today's video. I'm interested to see what you guys think, so let me know in the comment section down below. Did you guys kind of learn a little bit from this video? Were you thinking to yourself, wow, I forgot that he was even in the league, like he just left. He was so good for such a long time. He signed with a new team or got injured, and then he just quit the game of baseball. There was no, I can't handle it anymore. My body can't keep up with it. I've lost the passion. They just ran away into the sunset. They called it a day, and they said, time to play some Call of Duty Fortnite. Whatever players, or go fishing, or what Bo Jackson does, he does archery. So if you guys enjoyed this video, again, slap a like on it. Thank you all so much for watching. I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.